Hi there, I'm Katherine Given, Senior Style and Market Editor at Luxe Interiors and Design Magazine. Thanks so much for tuning into our Collab Lab segment on DesignTV. So today, I am very excited to be chatting with masterful kitchen designer Mick DiGiulio, whose distinctive spaces never fail to inspire me, as well as Erin Hoover, who is the very talented design director for Kohler's luxury brands, including Callista, who are, of course, the makers of beautifully crafted plumbing for the kitchen and bath. Thank you guys both so much for being here.
Thank you, Catherine. Good to be here.
So today we're discussing your new collaboration, the Juxtapose collection, which is a line of kitchen faucets. And I think they're truly so elegant. It includes one of my all-time favorite designs, the new semi-professional faucet, which I'm excited to talk about in a little bit. But let's just jump in. So if you don't mind telling us a little bit about how the partnership came to be, how you guys first connected. Mick, I don't know if maybe you want to start, because I know you've been working with Callista for a while, right?
Yeah, I have. I think it was more than 10 years ago, I started working with Rachel Kohler on actually one of her personal projects, her home. And we had a few meetings, and in one of the meetings, I remember her saying to me that, remember, we've got to use all Kohler in my house. And I said, of course. And then she was walking out of the studio and looked down at a sink that I had designed and she said, I really like that sink. And she said, but it's not Kohler. And then she looked up at me and she said, what if we hired you to design sinks, and then we could put a Kohler product, call it a Kohler product, and put that in the house. So that's how.
There you go. I love that. That's a pretty good story. And Erin, have you worked with Mick on some of his previous collections?
Well, the Juxtapose collection was the first project that I worked with Mick DiGiulio and his team on. And as he said, it's been this wonderful organic process where it started with a personal project for Rachel Kohler, and then it's just grown from, the Bachefior and the Multier and the Saltier sinks that were created in collaboration with Mick DiGiulio. And then now we have this wonderful Juxtapose semi-professional kitchen faucet collection, which we are so thrilled about.
So, Mick, I'm obviously such a fan of your spaces. Erin, I'm sure you are as well. But what, made you and Callista really want to collaborate with Mick on this?
Well, I think one of the things that I've always appreciated about Mick's designs is that they come from a place of listening to the consumer, listening to his clients. So rather than focusing on an aesthetic style, he's really focused on lifestyle. And this is something that we do at Callista as well. We really want to know, how can the products that we design and create make people's lives better, more gracious? I mean, we say live artfully, and that's really what we think about. And I think that's something we really share with Mick.
And Mick, vice versa. Obviously you have worked with Callista for some time, but I remember chatting with you that, they're such amazing innovators and engineers, and just, talk a little bit about what you love about Callista.
Well, I've always loved Callista, loved Kohler products. And I started working actually with Kohler products in the 70s. And I just thought they were the just absolute best at design. And they really are founded in design. And I think that culture of design, of engineering, of durability is what drew me to their products even before I started working with them. So when I was asked to work with them on these designs initially for the 3 sinks, it was just fantastic, because I could then draw on all of their engineering, all of their expertise, and we're talking about generations of engineering and expertise. And they were just so receptive to ideas. They never once said, here's what we want to do. We want to direct you in this direction or anything else. They really left it up to me. And it was really then fun to watch them getting a different perspective and then trying to work in that perspective with the engineering, and true collaboration. Just really, really a lot of fun.
Oh, cool. So, I know so much goes into a collaboration, into making each product, but I'm hoping you can both, walk us through the process a little bit, especially for Juxtapose, from really ideation to prototyping to production, finishing, factories. We really want to know everything that goes into the collaboration.
Well, I mean,
loaded question.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and we are thrilled to share that. I think one of the things that makes the collaboration really easy is that, we do have this longstanding relationship with Mick DiGiulio. And I mean, I think as he just mentioned, it's really a dialogue. And we are really always very interested to hear Mick's point of view and what he thinks might be a good direction for us. So I think it always starts with that initial kind of, okay, so we have this beautiful suite of products. What do you think is the next thing that we should really be looking at?
So in the case of Juxtapose, I know, Mick, we were talking a little bit earlier about how you wanted something to complement some of the larger sinks you were doing, or really just in general, you wanted a really professional faucet that was also nice looking, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So really early on, we started talking about developing a line of faucets that would marry with these sinks. And so it did take years. And watching how Kohler and Callista go through the steps that they know so well of introducing a product. And if you back up from the point of ideation, starting with concepts. We started, more the mile high kind of idea where concepts go to modeling, they go to renderings, they go to, and when I say modeling, that's on paper, but then the models, prototypes are created. And all of this takes a long time because each one of us, the engineers and marketing team, myself, we're looking at it critically, each concept, and thinking about how do we refine things each step of the way. How is this unique or is it not unique? Or how will this fit into the whole program? So it takes a while, but it's really a fun process and it gets everybody thinking in different directions. And through this process, working with Kohler and Callista, I learned so much just about the engineering and the marketing and the aspects, the varying aspects that goes into every single product that they put out. So it's a lot of work, but fun work.
So now, you have this idea, what's next? Prototyping, production. Erin, walk us through that a little bit.
Sure. So I think, to Mick's point, you go through several rounds of ideation and concept, and with the idea of constant refinement. We're also, as we have these ideas about the product, not only what it looks like, but how it functions, that's where I think this pipeline of innovation that Kohler and Callista have really comes into play. Because there were several things that Mick was very interested in having the faucet do. So we were able to sort of look at the different technologies that we have available at Kohler and say, well, we like these different spray functions. Could we maybe integrate these? How about how the hose actually operates? Do we want to put some kind of shield that would reduce the noise when you're moving the spray head around? So that's the other part that starts to come into play, where we have access to, as Mick said, all of this engineering experience, but also all of these interesting technologies that we're developing. So we start to integrate those, and then, as Mick says, they start to take form. So we start to have actual, 3D models. We start to have renderings. We start to have actual visual, sort of more refined products that we can start to really understand. And then there's also a phase where we start making physical prototypes. So we can actually test them out. For example, there was a magnetic docking element for the spray head, and that really had to work beautifully, seamlessly. You didn't want it to sort of not exactly connect, when you were finished with the spray head. So, testing out a lot of these things. And then the other part of it, which is really exciting, which is also something we're really thrilled about with Juxtapose, is finishes. So we really wanted to explore different finishes, mixing finishes. So we have several mixed finish options for Juxtapose. that we're very excited about. So there's all of that that's going into it. So you're just sort of working through all of these different elements until finally you have this beautiful product that you can then, present to our wonderful audience of consumers and, the design community.
What a process. So, I find that even with something like magazines or with a lot of our editorial stories and shoots, the best products are really a result of this creative collaboration, right? Meeting of the minds, you have this push and pull. Do you find, or did you find that you guys were really aligned or on the same page? I mean, Erin, I know you mentioned refinement. There's probably a lot of back and forth, but do you guys find that you produce sort of the best work when collaborating with others?
Oh, absolutely. I am a firm believer that if you have a group of people who are working towards a goal with a diverse set of viewpoints, a diverse, sort of they're coming at it. So the engineers will sometimes come at, like we're thinking, oh, well, we should do it this way. And they're like, oh, no, what if you did? Of course, we have the advantage of having Mick DiGiulio, who is an industry leader, has so much experience, has done so many projects, having him come in and really speaking to it from his particular point of view as a designer, but also from all of the insights that he's gained working with his clients. Like that's tremendous. It really allows us to just refine that product and make it, just the best it can possibly be. So yeah, I'm a huge believer in the collaborative process, and it's fun too. I mean, it's.
I agree, right?
Points, yeah.
Mick, what do you think? I want to hear your input here.
Well, absolutely. The process, the collaboration is fun. Drawing on ideas from each other, following up. Let's say if I mentioned something that it could be nice to do this. If we did this part on the faucet and whatever, they would then always say, okay, let us think of that. And then we meet again and they'd say, you brought this up, and everything is always addressed in that process. So nothing falls on deaf ears, so to speak. And as Erin said, that, what I've always done is worked with clients. I work with the people that, their kitchen, and I hear from them what they like about faucets, what they don't like about faucets. And then I start thinking about my use of a faucet, everything from cleaning up around a faucet, where you like to move the lever, how you like something to look. And naturally, from all of that experience, then I'm able to feed that to Callista and Kohler, and then they'll sometimes reaffirm and say, that's exactly what, we see. We're working on that same idea. So I think we were always on the same page as far as the product and where we were headed. There was never a big diversion. I think on the sinks originally, that was a little bit different, where some of these ideas were just a kind of off the wall. And I thought they're going to think I'm completely crazy on this. And they didn't. They embraced the ideas right away. But, at no point did Kohler or Callista ever say, well, that is absolutely crazy, and, we just can't do that. They always went back saying, this could be good. This could be different. We've done this. So I think that feeling that part of it, then I felt like I gave a part of the process that, as Erin said, a perspective that is coming through me, but it's really the things that I'm hearing from my clients and other designers, plumbers, everyone else. So it's really a lot of things in the process. It's not just the client and the marketing, but it is every person that touches this along the way, to the tradespeople, to the drillings in the countertops, and how will people react to this. So everything is so carefully considered.
Yeah, there really is so much that goes into it. But Mick, are you mentioned your clients, you obviously work very, very closely with them. Do you draw inspiration from that? I find right now that, getting inspired is a little tough. Maybe it's just me, I'm homebound, I'm not out and about. And I always feel like you know, the Callista products are very inspired and are very original. So I just kind of want to hear from you both a little bit, like, how do you find inspiration? Is it just being out and about? Is it talking to people? You know, I'm just curious to kind of get your perspective.
Erin, go ahead.
Oh, well, for myself, it very much is about sort of just seeing how people live. And I'm very lucky. I live in New York City. So the city is inspiration to me always. But probably my favorite place to go for inspiration in New York is the Metropolitan Museum, just because you can see everything from Egyptian art to decorative objects by Tiffany and Fabergé to armor to, 19th century paintings. So that's kind of when I need to recharge my inspiration batteries, I like to go there.
Ditto. Yeah. Mick, what about you?
Yeah, well, like Erin says, travel and just being exposed to so many different things is great inspiration. And I think, as I've gotten older and, done design for a long time, my feeling is that we have these antennas that we keep developing, and the antennas of getting ideas or being inspired become stronger because there's so much accumulation of ideas and things that we're exposed to. I do think that my clients are #1 inspirations. And, an inspiration is a problem. It's a challenge. It's identifying a challenge many times of how can we have a faucet that is elegant, but it's still highly functional, that it cleans up well, that it's ergonomic, and it's really identifying these initial challenges, and they become the inspiration. And the old saying, form follows function, right? I think in terms of the function really creates the form, and really that's what we tried to do on the sinks and the faucet. Is that thinking about the faucet and the sink is what are the functions around it, and how can we stay true to the function and keep it simple rather than creating something that's a decorative piece. So it's really a functional piece, and the sinks as well, driven by the idea of what happens around those fixtures.
Well put. So I want to get to the pieces now. I really want to walk through sort of what's in the Juxtaposed collection. I know there are a few designs, including a semi-professional faucet, I believe a pot filler, a bar faucet, but can you kind of just walk us through and maybe even touch on some of those, tech aspects you mentioned, Erin? And, I just kind of want to walk through the collection. Maybe start with the semi-professional faucet, if you don't mind.
Well, I mean, that's really, to me, that's really the star of the show. That's really sort of they're all beautiful, but that one really is the standout. And that's the one I think, to Mick's point, form follows function, and the form is beautiful, as is the function. So a lot of focus went into, I think, just how the product felt, how the product was used. So the handle is very ergonomically designed. It's very easy to switch between the 3 spray options. So you have aerate, boost, and sweep spray. So these are all, again, with a lot of input from Mick about what he was seeing when you're starting to have these larger sinks, and how people want to use a semi-professional faucet. So a lot of thought went into that. Again, the magnetic docking system that I talked about, when you finish using the spray head, it just clicks back into place. And then that sort of sound reducing shield that was placed inside, so that when you're sort of moving the hose around, you're not getting a lot of noise. Again, it should be sort of this very nice experience to use this. And then, the beautiful stainless steel coil that goes around the hose, which is functional, but also creates such a beautiful visual texture. And also, I think this is one of Mick's signatures. He is always doing these really interesting things with metal textures. So you'll see in the Bashpure sink that he designed with us, that beautiful hammered stainless steel. And then this, likewise, we have like this beautiful sort of texture along with mixed metals, which I think is another signature that, Mick really pioneered this. I mean, we're all doing this now, but I think Mick was onto the mixed metals way before, the rest of us were. And then, we sort of built out the rest of the collection with the, soap and lotion dispenser, with the bar faucet, and with the pot filler. So these are all sort of, part of the suite. And it really is about this idea of building out the whole collection. So you have the sinks and then you have this faucet collection that really complements it.
And I remember, Mick, I think you mentioned aspects like boost and sweep spray, which I was, very interesting and will certainly help, I feel like, anyone clean dishes, right? But can you walk us through some of these, tech innovations that you guys implemented?
Sure. Well, the idea really I brought to Kohler and Callista was, to have strong performance that we've got, especially in the case of the Multier sink. It's a longer sink, and the Soltier, they're single bowl sinks. So they need, they're workhorses in terms of the sink type. They're for people who use these sinks. They clean and they do the preparation around it. And part of that is the performance, being able to spray one end of the sink so you can get all the things out of the sink down into the disposal. So, I say I brought this idea. Well, they've been working on this already for years. And they said, well, we've got, this really cool technology. It's called Boost. And the ability to hit the button on the end of the faucet and increase the pressure, which is so critical to
so
being
smart,
able to, take, reach those parts of the sink and spray things down. So they had it going already. And I was able to really come in and step in and be able to incorporate that as part of these products. But that was the performance part of it. And that's something they're thinking of all the time. It's not just, this time. That's something they're working on constantly.
And then, Erin, I know you mentioned sort of the mixed metals and the finishes that you used with this collection, which are really beautiful. I particularly love the matte black, I think it's called. But Mick, do you also want to touch on that? Like, do you find you're using, darker finishes a lot in kitchens? Is it really just a range? But I would love to hear sort of how you guys finalize some of those finishes and mixed metals, as Erin said, for this collection.
Yeah, well, Catherine, I think, it's really down to, you've heard the expression, the personality-driven kitchen, and kitchens specifically for people. Well, that means really giving people variations and different ideas that they can choose from. Instead of saying, this is, we do this and these two finishes. It's thinking about designers who are working with darker finishes, moodier kind of feel to spaces, and is it possible to fill that market of what people want to complement? So it's that idea, and the idea of mixing the metals, as you talked about and Erin talked about, doing finishes that are unique. I think a lot about the fashion right now. It's everything goes. There's nothing that's wrong. Things are very expressive. They're very layered. And what we may have thought in fashion 30 years ago, you can't do this or you can't do that. Everything goes. And I think having that concept, and along with this layered idea goes the precision. And that's part of the technology that Kohler and Callista is able to do, the technology of doing really precise details in the metalwork. And one thing I thought of for the handle was thinking about it more like a watch, more like a fine jewelry concept. So if you really see the end of the photo or say the end of the faucet, looking at that almost dial to the round element and the more elegant hand that is the lever for the control lever. That was really the concept around it. So the word that we all used in the collaboration was elegant, that we wanted something, because there are a lot of professional kinds of faucets that sometimes they just don't work in an elegant kind of space. And we wanted that market between just your, a standard kind of faucet to a very industrial, somewhere in between, that had this elegant feel.
I think this is an example of Mick really identifying a consumer desire that we might not have been aware of. So, he sort of identified this white space where, there are these, sort of industrial looking faucets and performing faucets. And then you have, sort of residential caliber ones that aren't going to have the same performance. There's this white space where we could create something that basically blended the two aspects and, do it in an elegant way, do it in a way that you would want to put in a kitchen that was very, upscale, had beautiful materials, beautiful design. So just that's another example of how Mix Insights can help drive our innovation.
Yeah, I completely agree. You want something that complements your beautiful space, right? I mean, as we all know, we're spending so much time in the kitchen, especially right now. It's really evolved to be much more than where we just eat and cook, right? It's really the heart of the home. So I'm curious to hear a little bit about how, your design, I guess you really just touched on it, Erin and Mick, but you want your design, your products and and even the spaces you design, Mick, to accommodate the way we're living today. Can you just touch a little bit on that? How we are living today really in the kitchen and how you want to, and how, Callista approaches, creating products and you, Mick, also spaces to really, to really fit into this very evolving kitchen space.
Well, as Erin had touched on earlier about lifestyle, that the lifestyle today is very informal. It's very casual, and it's very open and connected. So people want to be together. There were the old kitchens of old, which were compartments basically. You had a dining room, you had a kitchen, you had the family room, and now people really want to stay connected, and they want open areas with a lot of natural light, and so. That lifestyle trend is the most important trend that is really driving our products today, all kinds of products, and how we can create these elements that fit within these open and connected spaces and don't look necessarily, and it's been talked about as kind of an unkitchen look about kitchens now. And it's true, kitchens could be almost any room in the house because we're doing refrigeration with armoires. We're doing different kinds of appliances that are more integrated, dishwashers especially. So you really can't identify some of these elements that are in a kitchen as a kitchen. And even proportions, we're trying to change what a proportion looks like because there's a lot of massing in kitchens, and the massing gives it away as a kitchen. So however we can break down some of those elements is really one of the things we work on, but it's very connected, open, very casual.
What about you, Erin? Are you always thinking about, from a product standpoint, how people are living with and experience your products? And I guess obviously that has evolved over time, right?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more with what Mick is saying about the kitchen. The way I think about it is it's become an all-day space. So it's not just, you used to go in the kitchen, I'm going to make breakfast and then I leave the kitchen. Now it's an all day, all function, because you might be sitting at the kitchen island eating breakfast and then you might be working there. Your children might be, having a meal and then, playing with their friends in some part of the kitchen. So it just becomes, as Mick is saying, like really the center of the house. And very much, we see people integrating things like soft seating, artwork, bookshelves. You would not have necessarily thought about this as being appropriate for a kitchen, but I think it's that continuing evolution and also just the integration of technology into the kitchen. So, we're at Callista, we're always thinking about this. We're always thinking about, how are people using that space? How can what we design make that easier, better, more beautiful for them?
Well,
certainly going to be interesting, right, to see how the kitchen space even evolves even more. But I'm curious, can you guys, is there another Callista Mick DiGiulio collab on the docket? Anything, I'm sure there is. I can't wait to, see what else you guys sort of cook up. But, what are you thinking? What's next?
Well, I mean,
anything you can share?
Speaking for Callista, I certainly hope so. And one of the things that I would say about working with Mick is that, Nick is never at a he never lacks for ideas. So I'm sure that there's something else that he's thought about that we should probably get working on. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Right. Yeah, thank you, Erin. I am too. I think it's a great collaboration, a great partnership, and already, we trade little ideas here and there, snippets, and so I sure hope there will be some future things, and I know there will. So thank you.
Well, it's such a beautiful collection. I really so appreciate you both taking the time, to talk about Juxtapose and really all that goes into it. And as I said, we really can't wait to see what's on the docket, for the next Callista Mick DeGiulio collaboration. But to our viewers, appreciate you tuning into Design TV, and we'll see you next time. Thank you both.
Okay, thank you, Catherine.